All right, so today we are talking about sloth medicine. And if you have not been here before, this is In the Hearts of Men podcast. I'm your host, Robbie J. Bone, with your other host,
Kirby J. Freeman.
Mm-hmm. And what's your middle name?
John.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not curious.
My middle name is Jonathan,
Oh.
in case you were wondering.
That was not consensual.
Well, I was informing the audience.
Very good.
Yes. So, without further ado, we shall begin. So, sloth. This actually, without going into the specifics of it, this came up in a recent men's circle, where it came up in the round of conversation, and the energy of sloth, the energy of being a sloth in your life, that laziness that can be apathetic, and how there's this polarity where some men in life can get stuck in that, laziness, sloth, and then on the other side, some men can get stuck, and women too, can get stuck in this hyper active, always needing to do, never resting, never stopping, never relaxing. There's kind of two ends of the spectrum. Today we're talking about the sloth end. And sloths are very strange creatures. They move extremely slow. I've actually seen one in Costa Rica once, many years ago. Very fascinating, just how slow they move. Like, what an interesting creation. So there's a purpose to them. However, in life, it can limit us. So what's been your experience regarding this subject?
I've found myself in it many times in my past, and I don't think I knew that I was in it. I wasn't really doing much. And reflecting on it, it's like, oh, I was certainly in a place of just not doing anything and being really lazy. And I believe that there's purposefulness to sloth and to sloths in general. Yeah, and I feel like it would be wise to go into things that created in me, and I believe a big part of it is a coping strategy for me and for many people. And the invitation in the coping strategy is to witness it, bring awareness to it, and allow for us to shift it and change it. And for me, it was not feeling. I didn't want to feel a certain way, so I would go and do something that would essentially was nothing, but it would distract myself from feeling. So I slowly started to choose to feel and lean into practices and modalities that would put my phone away and allow for me to not necessarily be in that mind-numbing despair. A lot of it was, as a child, it was playing some like Nintendo 64 and playing a lot of video games of that nature. And it kind of built to screen time and, having a hard time getting off of social media. And I believe a good part of it was alcoholism too, and drinking regularly. And I think that it's all had a huge impact on me. And if I were to go back and look at myself and say, okay, what would I do now differently in my life? And it would be, from a very young age, start like being in it, even when it's challenging, to look at myself and allow for myself to feel deeply and call on support from people around me that I trusted. Yeah, so I see a lot of people in the world that are stuck in it. And I feel like accountability is necessary to come out of sloth as well. If the intention of a person is great and beautiful, but it is magnified every time when it is shared with someone else, even if they're not holding you accountable. And then when it's shared with somebody else and they are holding you, it's magnified even more so. And even more so on top of that if it's shared and held by a group or more than one person. And it's really incredible how that can create traction and a direction. And yeah, I feel like a big part of it for many people as well, myself included, was I didn't feel a sense of deep purpose in it. And it's hard for me to do something if it's not driven by a purpose. It's like, well, why would I do the thing if there's no juice at the end that I'll get from the squeeze? Just doesn't make sense. I'm pretty darn okay sitting here and not doing anything and vegging on my phone for days. Show me the why. Yeah, so it's interesting to look at. And I think it was largely, like, my transmutation of sloth has largely come through finding that deep-seated purpose. Yeah. I'm curious, in you, Robbie, what do you have to share?
Well, I appreciated what you shared about not feeling, because I find that there's a relationship that I've noticed between sloth and apathy. Apathy being this place that is numb. Apathy being this place of kind of giving up, resigning, and energetically it's actually lower than anger and depression and sadness and even fear, because it's a place of numbness. And it's a very dark place, and yet it's like it's an interesting place, because when you're there, because it's numb, you don't really feel the extent of the negativity of it, and yet it's such a destructive energy. It's not life-giving at all. And often that it is related to not wanting to feel that fear, that sadness, that anger, whatever it might be, and instead numbing out. So often apathy can relate directly with addictions. Even the way you're describing screen time, I can relate, and it can be very addicting. And it can be an escape from feeling, escape from what the present moment might hold. And when we think of the modern world, there's so many opportunities now to be in that energy of sloth and to be so deceived where, like, it's funny being on a screen because it's an activity. So there's part of the mind that's engaged. So there's this illusion of activeness. However, if you looked at yourself zooming out, like if you ever watch someone on their phone or you watch someone watching TV, it's a little freaky. Generally most people are not like super engaged, they're very much melting.
I like that. Like, if we didn't have an understanding of what technology or TVs were, and we were from another planet, and we saw these species staring at these little palm-sized screens for hours on hours, it would be pretty wild.
It would be strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, or there's this funny meme of like this beautiful image of like clouds, and it kind of looks like Aurora Borealis, and then there's this face of this old man in the clouds, and it's like your ancestors looking down on you, and like it's like a thought bubble from the ancestor in the clouds saying, that motherfucker's on his phone again. Something like that. It's just this funny thing of like imagining how our ancestors or how the spirit guides or whatever powers that are invisible that are watching us are like, just wow, they're on their phone again. And when we die and we do our life review, how many hours of that life review will just be staring at a screen? It's pretty wild. And I know I've spent my fair share, our generation especially. And it's not all bad. It can be very enjoyable. You know, a movie can bring beautiful joy. A video game can bring entertainment and a sense of play and fun. And a TV show can be engaging, and you know, it's not inherently bad or wrong. It's just when we're stuck in a state of apathy in our life or not wanting to feel, and we're coming at it from that place, or from a place of wanting to feel a certain thing. Sometimes people engage in technology because they want to feel a certain, like they watch a sad movie because they want to feel something, or they watch a horror movie because they want to feel something, or they play a video game because they want to feel something. But it's not necessarily from a place of truth or
Reality.
yeah. So
What I'm hearing in that is it's okay to have it. and I agree with this, and it's kind of how it is in my life. It's what balance works well for you. Finding balance. It's if I'm not striving for balance in all areas of my life, there's something that's becoming unhinged and going in a way that is not necessarily the path that I want. So it's a matter of keeping our fingers on that pulse and looking at it, and what are we consciously doing to create the shift in the direction that we want, right? And there's tips and tricks that we went through accountability work and through speaking it out loud and taking small steps that are really fruitful and productive in finding a path through this. You know, not trying to do it alone, I think, is a massive step too. And knowing that maybe it feels good to be vegging on your phone for a day, but does it feel good after? During it, it probably feels okay. After, more often than not, it feels really shitty.
yeah, agreed. And you know, in that, something that comes to mind to bring up around the energy of sloth is that it's actually like the inversion of surrender, is what one way I've studied it or noticed it in my own life, where like when we really reach this deep place of surrender to God, we realize this space of like we don't have control, you know, that like there's this higher power that has governance over this existence, and we do have certain control over our own being and our thoughts and whatnot. However, generally in reality, like surrender dictates like, oh, I'm going to surrender to this higher power.
Do we have control over thoughts?
To a degree.
Tell me what your next thought's going to be then.
I mean, I didn't say I have control over them.
Oh, okay. Some.
Yeah.
Very good.
We have, so it depends who's in the driver's seat. So the mind is always wanting to have control, and consciousness is in control. So the mind is meant to be like a vehicle for consciousness, a tool for consciousness. So in many ways, surrender is teaching the mind to surrender itself to consciousness, which is a deep practice, right? So that the mind is no longer controlling everything and trying to be the creator, but in fact surrenders to consciousness as the creator. That's how I understand it. So, that said, surrender, like sometimes when we reach that deeper place, there can be an effect of like, I know in my path I've had that effect where it's like, oh wow, like nothing really matters. You know, like when there's this higher spiritual understanding that everything is God, and like the relative world, when we come to that absolute place, the relative world can sometimes reach this place of like releasing our emotional attachments, seeing that in a way nothing matters, it's all God and it's all perfect and it's all divine. And that can actually be a really peaceful place, and it can also be a very existential place, because a lot of our identities are based on things mattering. And in the relative world, things do matter. From the vantage point of pure consciousness, it's all God and everything is valid as it is. So that said, sometimes when we reach that understanding, the shadow of that can be the sloth, can be like giving up, apathy. And it can be this way that the ego hijacks the teaching of surrender and the higher teaching of truth, and uses it to just stay in control. Oh, nothing matters, so I'll just stop living.
Because we're missing the part of doing your best. Doing your best and surrendering to outcome. Right? I think that's I like how you frame that. It's beautiful. The hijacking.
Yeah. 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 And the purpose piece too, right? Because we can be in surrender and have purpose. The purpose could be to just surrender. Or the purpose could be to learn how to control our mind. Or the purpose could be to help others or whatever.
When I hear control mind together, like I often laugh because it's like I don't believe that anyone can control it. I believe that we can find a deep sense of peace in our mind and notice it and witness it and see it, but I believe that it's very clearly attached to divine intelligence, and it's like I said to you, tell me what your next thought's going to be. I can't ever. Can any of you? You know, so that to me tells me that I'm not the one running the show. How does that feel for you to hear?
Yeah. The I am, it depends who you're speaking of as the one not running the show. Because if you're speaking from the ego or the mind or the personality, then certainly not. However, the point of like learning to control the mind is to learn to allow consciousness to become our place of reference as the I. It's the I am. To have that God source within be our primary identity, which is beyond the mind.
So it's not controlling the mind, it's letting God in and letting Spirit Creator in to your life and allowing that governance to run the show, essentially.
Yeah, it's mastery over the mind, you could say.
Yeah, so I'm completely on board with that. But I do not perceive that in any way to be controlling.
Yeah, I suppose I see control as like you control your vehicle by driving it. Right? Like you're not controlling it in a negative way, you're just like controlling it by being in control of it. Or you control your body by bringing it to a certain place. You know, or you control your feeling by inciting certain feeling states.
Right.
So you can control your mind by intentionally thinking and using the mind and the mental faculty to create thoughts and ideas and whatnot in a similar way.
To a degree. I agree. Not fully.
Yeah. So sometimes control is a word that has like a negative connotation as well. So it's not necessarily in that way. It's just like there's only so many words we can use for it. So that's my take on it.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, brother. Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful, like control in itself is another beautiful topic. Yeah.
Yeah. So the energy of sloth or laziness is also kind of built into humans, I think. You know, like we're kind of built to want to find the things that make something easier.
Yeah.
You know?
Create efficiency.
Yeah.
And is it so that we can do more or do less?
Yeah. Right? And we've made life so efficient as a collective, but then individually people tend to get kind of trapped in the efficiency of it, and then it becomes inefficient at the same time, and there's always things to be doing. And yeah, it's a funny world where we can simultaneously have so many opportunities to be lazy and sloth-like and also so busy and wound up.
Yeah.
This polarity. And there's somewhere in between, which is presence, peace. And to me, that's what surrender always brings. It's like a deep space of presence and peace and joy and love in the watching of a show or sitting on the couch or doing actions in the world, whatever it might be. And it's like, it's not always there. Sometimes I lose touch with it, but I feel like that's really the path. The spiritual path is that, to practice a deep connection and surrender in each moment.
Doing our best and surrendering. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and to lift ourselves out of that place, we do need a strong why or purpose. And defining that for each of us, like right there is like surrendering and doing your best is a beautiful purpose.
Yeah.
That's what is that? It's an internal purpose. So it doesn't matter what's happening in your life, you can apply that everywhere. You can be watching TV. Do your best to be fully engaged in what you're watching, and like
so many people have a hard time grabbing onto something internal though. And I think it's necessary for most to start externally. Like I think it's wise to start internally, but it's hard for a lot of people because we're so focused on externality and external validation.
Yeah, it depends on one's reference point. For me, it's like it always starts within. That's how I've always been.
And I agree with that completely, that's the best place to start. But it's not feasible for many people because their awareness and scope around these topics are not fluent enough to actually grasp or have a handle on why. So,
yeah, I mean, it's simple,
yeah.
To be present in a place of joy, because for me, it's like most people start externally and then they live their whole life and then they get old and then they go internal. But it's like you'll live a much better life if you just start from the inside out. And so, it's like the external purpose is to reach an internal state. That's why people chase external things. They want to reach a certain internal state, which can be achieved right here, right now, just by imagining and visualizing and meditating.
Feeling and believing.
Yeah. So to me, it's like pretty easy to explain it for the most part. And that's where it's like good to have both, because we want to have our internal purpose and an external purpose, or multiple, and defining those for ourselves. Because the internal purpose of, like, let's say surrender and doing our best, no matter what is happening in life, we can apply it always. Whereas the external purpose brings a different satisfaction of creating something physical in the world. It could be being an artist, and the external purpose of creating art.
I have a question for you.
Beauty. What's that?
Somebody comes to you, they're struggling in their life. They're not feeling any sense of purpose. How do you guide them? And that's what they want to work on. I'm seeking deep purpose in my life. I hear the internal side of things, and perhaps a little bit more there, but how would you guide that person?
Well, they have to know God. That's where it starts. It's to start with truth.
And what if somebody isn't open to the idea of a higher power yet? How would you navigate that?
Yeah, I just don't, like, that's just how I work, so I don't really attract those people. So I wouldn't really be a good match for them, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay, so it starts with God, and then?
So it starts with coming to know God and know oneself, and to keep on this path of approaching life from truth and living in accordance with truth, with the Creator's truth for us. And really, the teachings that I offer is really all about that. That's what I teach people, is these 7 teachings, which starts with truth, and then find the Creator's truth, and then live in an honest way in alignment with that. Live your life, take action in your life based on the Creator's truth. So what is the Creator's truth for us? To make our choices and actions in the world as close as we can to that. To practice our courage and bravery in life, to continue to face and overcome our fears and insecurities, and to take action in the world based on love rather than fear. And when that fear arises and that resistance is there, to then move through it, to see it as a guidepost of, like, oh, there's fear here, that's something for me to lean into. And then we want to practice respect and humility. And respect is all about learning to respect ourselves, to see our value, our worth, and humility, being in deep devotion and surrender to love, to God, and to allow the wisdom to unlock in our heart, to live in that way so that our wisdom starts to unlock. And that wisdom is where we find our purpose. That wisdom is where we find what the Creator has for us in our life. Because so many people are seeking a outer purpose because they want to feel better about themselves or feel a sense of worth or validation. It's just not how reality works. That source and validation from the outer may give it for a moment, but if we find it within, then we actually bring far more substance and value to whatever we're creating outside of ourselves. So the purpose is found through that map, really, is what I found.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I like to ask people questions. And I love asking them, what do you love to do? Keeping it really simple. Like, what do you love to do? And really listening to them there and asking, when is the last time that you've done that? Because I feel like deep-seated purpose comes through what brings us joy. And I agree with you in that, like, having a higher power and a connection with higher power is fundamental and so important. But there's many people that are really suffering and struggling that want to find a way, and they're not ready to invite in God and their higher power yet. And I feel like they're doing it in a way by expressing and being in a joyous state. So, and if they don't know what they love to do, finding something externally that they love to do, or internally perhaps, and doing that. Really, like, taking care of themselves. Because a lot of people who are struggling in these ways are so focused on taking care of other people and in hopes of having their needs met. It's like, no, we want to start by meeting our needs and then doing what feels good. Yeah, so it's really simple, and then there's a whole process after, depending on the path that is chosen, to maintaining it and cultivating it in a deeper way. But I think the first key is really bringing yourself into a joyous state and feeling that and filling yourself with that cup.
Yeah, and that inspires me too, in that when we learn our true self, because I was talking about truth and, finding that place of truth, that starts to align us with our true self, with our authentic self. And the more we just live as our authentic self, then life becomes the purpose. Living life becomes the purpose, and sharing our authentic self. It's like the most successful people who are like living their purpose, and everyone's like, oh my God, that person's living their purpose. It's like they're really just being true to their authentic being.
They're just living.
Yeah, exactly. They're not like finding it, or they just are it.
Yeah.
And that's where the inner is, like, if you don't have an inherent connection to that, or an intuitive connection to that, or a deep knowing of that, it's very hard to actually find or live your purpose. You're just going to be living a script of what you think it is.
Yeah.
Which made me think of that when you say, like, follow your joy. It's like, what is your authentic, like, what does your authentic self get lit up by?
Exactly. And that can't be faked. Somebody who doesn't like fishing is not going to say fishing.
Yeah.
Or they might, but you'll be able to tell, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's like great to lean into things that don't feel authentic. Like, do something that is an edge for you, or you don't actually like, or doesn't feel, maybe you're like, oh, that doesn't feel authentic to me, but like, do it anyways. Not from an inauthentic place, but with your authentic self. Like, for example, I went to that ecstatic dance last night, and it was an edge for me. It's not something that I necessarily feel excited or lit up about in my life, and I did it for that reason. And then I can express my authentic self in that space, in socializing in different moments, and that was really fulfilling, to just be authentic there. And whether the action is not fully in alignment or not, I can still be authentic, and I can express my body in the way that feels good and can be nourishing. And dance is a universal language, so we all can find a dance that suits us.
Yeah.
That said, like, there's always things that we don't want to do. And I think learning to just do those things is really helpful too. Like, even if it doesn't bring us joy, sometimes because we're talking about the sloth piece, so if like if someone's suffering from sloth, follow your joy, what lights you up, and also do the things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And see that could be the cutting edge of your purpose and growth and unlocking your authentic self. And do it and see what's on the other side.
Find the resistance and lean in is what I'm hearing there.
Yeah, exactly.
Lean in.
Yeah. Like what's the thing you're procrastinating, putting off that you don't want to do?
Yeah.
And just do it.
Without thinking about it too much.
Yeah.
The fear of doing things is a non-starter. Get past that and just do it. Get in the cold water. Don't think about getting in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, really beautiful conversation.
Yeah, it has been. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for continuing on this path, and really beautiful to share these conversations and go deep. And we'd love to hear from the viewers here. What's your experience of sloth? Any good stories? And we'd love to hear comments, questions. And as always, we have our men's group that Kirby and I co-facilitate. And we do a number of other teachings and workshops and different things in our own life, in person and online. And if you want to learn more, comment below or find us online or send us a message, and we're happy to connect with you.
Yeah, thank you, Robbie. And thank you to all the viewers.
Wonderful.